Alrighty, and now we're going to move on into the fraction portion of this. So we're going to keep following the same exact rules. We can see that what is currently happening is a minus 1/8, so we need to add 1/8 on both sides, which will cancel those out, and you'll have n equals. And then at this point, I would recommend using Desmos. Desmos is going to do a much nicer job at subtracting or adding fractions or multiplying fractions for you. So I'm going to go ahead and just use Desmos. And we're going to open up Desmos Scientific Calculator here. And so we had -3/8 plus, we had -3/4. -3/4 here plus 1/8. And that's going to get you -0.625 or -5/8. Doesn't matter which one you put, either one of them works. So use Desmos. It's going to make your life a lot easier, and just keep doing inverse operations. So again here, we see that there is addition. So we're going to go ahead and minus 1 5/6 from both sides. And again, I'm going to use handy dandy Desmos. So we had 2/3 minus 1 and I believe 5/6. So this is where you got to be careful with Desmos, is that it can be a little finicky sometimes, but I would recommend using the fraction button on the right side of the screen. It's definitely going to be helpful. And so if we subtract these, we'll get the fraction -7/6, which we'll want to rewrite that back into a mixed number. So -1 1/6. There we go. Moving on to this next one, -1/3 x equals 4/9. Well, again, this is currently multiplying, so we will need to divide by -1/3 on both sides. You could also multiply by the reciprocal. That's how we learned it back in first semester, but you don't have to do that if you're using a calculator. So now we'll have 4/9, and it is going to be divided by, I believe, a -1 1/3, and that is -4/3. So x is going to equal -4/3, which we would rewrite as x equals -1 1/3. Next up, we have a couple we skipped one right here. So just to show you how we would do it by hand, this is multiplication, so we would divide. But if you guys remember keep, change, flip, we're never going to multiply by a decimal, so we're never going to multiply by a fraction. Instead, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. We'll never divide fractions, we'll multiply by the reciprocal. So we'll multiply by -3/5 on both sides. So these will cancel each other out, leaving d equals. The 1 and the 15 can cross-reduce, dividing them both by 5. So we get a 1 on top of the second fraction, 3 on the bottom of the other one. 8 times 1 is 8. 3 times 3 is 9. And so this is 8/9, -8/9. Sorry, I forgot my negative up there. -8/9 would be the fraction here. Now moving on to these last two, we can continue doing the same method. I do want to teach you guys something called clearing the fractions though. Clearing the fractions is when you multiply all three fractions or all of the fractions in the problem by the least common multiple to clear off the fractions, which would essentially mean all the fractions would be gone and we'd be left with whole numbers. So the least common multiple is the smallest number that all three of them can go into. So we're going to look at the multiples real quick. So we got 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15. For 4, we would have 4, 8, 12, 16. And for 6, we would have 6 and 12. And we could actually stop right there because we could see that 12 is the smallest number that all three of them can go into. It's the smallest multiple. So we will multiply all three of these by 12. I'm going to make that a little smaller, actually. And just a reminder, it's technically 12 over 1. And so we can cross reduce here. 12 and 3 would reduce. That would become a 1. That would become a 4. And so really it's 4 times 2, which is 8x. 1 times 1 is 1, so we don't really need to put that. We would also do 12. So we did that one. We're also going to do 12 times 1/4, which again we can cross reduce. The 4 would become a 1, and the 12 would become a 3. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. So we'd end up with this. And we would multiply by a third 12 here. Cross reducing would get us 2. So it would be a negative 10 because 5 times 2. And from here we could solve it, adding 3 on both sides. 8x equals negative 7, and divide by 8 on both sides. And x would equal negative 7/8. Go ahead and pause the video and try to do this last one. Alrighty, I'm going to multiply by the least common multiple, which is 4, making this 3x plus 2 plus 1x equals 1. Excuse me. And combine like terms. We have this one and this one, which is negative 2x plus 2 equals 1. Subtract 2 on both sides. Negative 2x equals negative 1. Sorry, I'm going fast. My throat is acting up. Divide by negative 2 on both sides, and x equals 1/2. That's going to do it for our notes. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Hope you guys have a great day.